Hey, Faith Walkers, and happy Friday to you. Welcome to Detox Fridays. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like you were in a situation, a trial that seemed never ending? Have you ever been in that place? I know I have. So today, I want to share with you a testimony of how God absolutely worked a miracle for me. It is unbelievable. And so I'm going to invite you into my bathroom with me as I'm doing my hair. As you can see, I'm doing my hair and I just want to have a conversation with you. And I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. God bless. Okay. So I wanted to bring you on the journey with me because I'm getting ready to color my hair. I just cut it down. I like it best when it's cut short and then colored. So I'm gonna color it. I want to talk to you about my testimony. Um, so I'm gonna say probably the beginning of last year. Well, maybe not the beginning. Um, Maybe last year I wasn't working. Um, like I wasn't working in the beginning of last year. And then I started to do my insurance business because I'm a licensed insurance agent. So anyway, started doing that, and I was still living in my apartment, and I didn't have the funds to move into another apartment. So my brother and sister-in-law allowed me to come and stay with them, and which was cool. I'm sorry, I'm mixing my bleach. It was gonna be a little uncomfortable for me just because I am usually the one that everybody kind of lives with. I usually have a stable place, um, and people come live with me. I haven't lived with anybody since I've been in Texas. These 20 years, I've lived with one person, maybe two. But I haven't lived with anybody longer than a year. I probably altogether have lived with somebody maybe 6 months, maybe, that in a place where it wasn't my place. And what happened was I was a part of this church, because I have to put this in here. I was a part of this church, and it ended up that I made a decision to leave the church because there was some stuff that just wasn't right, and I had to go. Had to go, um, and it was not a small deal that I left because I was very visible in that church, and so I left, blocked some people, and just went on with my life. But I loved the church. That's the thing. I loved that church, and I was there because I loved it. So it was a very painful exit for me. For me, it was a very painful exit. Lost friends and, that kind of stuff, connections. Actually, losing a community, losing my community and all of that. So, anyway, it was right before my birthday. And when my birthday comes, it was just a really hard day. It was really hard. So I have a lot of transition going on. I move into my brother's house. I leave my church. My birthday comes. I'm starting my business. So as you can imagine, it was very emotional for me. Yeah, it was very, very emotional. Anyway, as I'm doing all this transition, I'm meeting with the woman who is like my business partner in the insurance business. They, in the particular company that I am with, they have somebody that's over you that kind of coaches you through. I sat in her office a many a day crying, okay? Crying, because I was in such pain and just, just felt like God had just stripped me of everything. But it was just like, I didn't have my own place. I didn't have a place to serve as in church and all of that anymore. It was very, very lonely. And, excuse me, I got to look at the back. When I'm going through this, I did decide that I was not going to be somebody that stopped going to church, because I was really hurt. I was really extremely hurt by some things at the last place. And so I, and it's kind of hard when you get hurt in ministry, hurt in church. Sometimes people just stop going. And I made a decision. I'm not going to stop going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep, trying to listen to the Lord in this, because really, He's what I have. He's what I have, I mean, I have family, I have support, all of that. But all in all, when I'm in the bed in the middle of the night crying and, talking, that's who I'm talking to. That's who sees me, like when nobody else sees me. I started thinking, I was like, I need to move. I gotta move. And every time that I would go into like search for a job or something like that, it would be absolutely like grueling, because I kept getting denials. I kept getting, rejected, and it was hard. I started getting used to the closed doors. And I was like, come on now. I mean, is this my life? Is this what's up? I remember somebody telling me, well, at least you're above ground. And really at that point, at that time in my life, I kind of felt like, if this is what my life is going to be, then we can just go be with Jesus. Because I was like, surely life can be better than this. And it's, that's a bad place to be, to feel like, now y'all, I don't have a real plastic cap, so I gotta put something on my head. So it's a grocery bag. I went to a church in the midst of this. I went to a church. I got to make sure everything's covered up. I went to a church in the midst of this, and I was crying because I was like, I don't have a church anymore. I don't have stuff. I don't have people. This is where I saw the Lord provide for me in the way of people, in the way of prophets, to speak to my life, to speak to everything that I was going through. Like, I went to this church, and this prophet, it was a husband and wife, and both of them spoke into my life. They just spoke life into me. They spoke to that place in me that was like dry and thirsty, and spoke to some things that I didn't know was going on. They were just speaking to some things that I didn't understand, but then it brought light to what I was going through, and I was like, that's the reason. That's why I'm going through this. This is why, and it helped me to connect the dots. These are people that I call prophetic practitioners. Prophetic practitioners to me would be specialists, people that specialize in difficult problems. And this was something that I needed in this particular time to explain to me the things that were going on, pull back the layers of what was going on, of the church that I was a part of all of the things that I was going through, and things specific to my call and to the people that I need to reach. Then there was some brightness there. These are things that I learned during this time, is that God will provide whatever you've lost. God will provide. He will provide people for your life. Now it says that in the word. I'll probably list that scripture. God will provide the finances. He will provide everything that you need. Friends, prophetic people that will speak into your life and all of that. God will provide it. And that is something that I learned in this season. So as I'm going through and getting doors slammed in my face over and over and over, I can't tell you how many rejection letters that I received. I can't tell you how many times I thought that it was God that I met this person. Oh my God, I met this person. It was random, blah, blah, blah. And she had a connection with some people that could give me a job, right? And I'm knocking on doors, rejection after rejection, rejection after rejection, even for things that I'm thinking, this has to be God. This has to be God. God is working. God is doing something amazing here. And I'm trying to have faith. And it's like, when I tell you the devil is a bully, the devil is a bully. You talk about the devil like punching you down while you're down, just punching you. I'm down, and now you're going to just punch me while I'm down. That's what I experienced. It was like on several occasions, I was like, I need a win. I need a win. At some point, I need a win. I'm still believing in the power of the tongue and the power of prophecy and all of that, but I'm not going to lie to you. I got discouraged. I went a little off, okay? I did. I didn't do everything right. I was upset with God. Like, really? All this time, I've been trying to follow you. I've been trying to serve you. I'm trying to serve you. That the point of everything is I'm trying to serve you from a pure heart. When I get up to sing and minister and whatever, I'm doing it from a pure heart, not to be performing in front of anybody. I don't want to do all that. That is not important to me. An audience of one. And that's how I think of it when I'm like up before people. I'm not trying to show off. What? That's just not me. And so for me to be in this situation, I was like, Lord, for real, do you love me? Do you hear me? Do I hear you? Because I started questioning the voice of God in my life. I started questioning that voice. I started being like, am I hearing you? Am I hearing you? So I'm talking about from the probably April to November. It was a lot. And I'm living in my brother and sister-in-law's house. There's nothing wrong. They treated me kind. We weren't like at odds with each other when I left. It wasn't any of that. I just wanted my own space as a grown woman. I just wanted my own space, right? So I started really, applying for jobs. I'm like, I gotta move. And I don't even know how this is gonna happen. Because as you can imagine, if you don't have no money, your bills get behind. This thing and that. Listen. Anyway, I don't want to tell too much business. But come November, I remember I was sitting up in in the house. It was a Sunday morning. And on Sunday, this particular Sunday, I was so tired of the constant toil. And I remember I was like, I'm not going to church. I'm sitting at home. I just was praying to God in my heart, like, God, what are you gonna do something? What is going on? Are you gonna do something? Well, I need something to turn. And so I remember it got to about the afternoon. I was at home. Nobody else was home. Everybody else was at church. And I was sitting down in the living room and I heard God say, by this time tomorrow. And I was like, well, all right. If that's you, by this time tomorrow. Now, that phrasing comes from that scripture where Elisha is prophesying to the people of this city that are in famine. Okay, I'm probably going to list this down here. Okay, he's prophesying and he's saying to them, by this time tomorrow, basically everything is going to turn around. You're in famine today, but by this time tomorrow, the famine will be over. And so I heard that phrase, by this time tomorrow. And I just was like, okay, God, if that's you, then by this time tomorrow. I just left it out of my head. And so the next day, of course, was Monday. And at 3:33, I got a text. And the text was inviting me to come and interview at a place. And I was like, really? At 3:33 on the dot. And I was like, 3:33 caught my attention immediately. And I was like, I know that I wrote down a scripture in my journal with those numbers, 3:33. And it was Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, and I will do great and mighty things that you know not of. And so I was like, okay, Lord. I had an interview on that Tuesday morning. And when I walked in, I was like, I don't think this is it. And so I went in, interviewed with her, and she told me how much they paid. And I was like, I don't think this is going to work for me. And she was like, well, I have a friend that works for another company. I'm going to give her your number, and then maybe she'll have something open. I actually left there in the morning, and I was like, this lady is probably not even going to remember me. And so she actually passed my number on to this lady, and she gave me her number, and she said, call her, contact her, because I told her about you and she's expecting your call. I'm like, wow. So I'm texting this lady and we set up an interview for Thursday. So on that Thursday, I have the interview. I basically go in for the interview on Thursday evening and I get the job on the spot. I get the job. They just told me, you contact us when you want to start. I think the next week was going to be Thanksgiving. So this was the Thursday before Thanksgiving. Anyway, that Saturday, my friend texts me. She texts me and she says, are you still living with your brother? And I was like, yes, I'm still living with my brother. And she was like, do you want my apartment? Now, here's the backstory to this. My friend and her husband had to move very quickly out of state. And so she had gotten an apartment, but the opportunity needed them to be there a little quicker. So the apartment was sitting here, fully furnished, with nobody in it, okay? So she was thinking, well, I'm just gonna, my daughters, when they come in town, I'll just let them stay here. But it turned out that they didn't need it. They didn't need the apartment. So she asked me about the apartment, and I was like, um, yeah, but I don't have any money. I don't have any. She was like, did you hear what I said? She was like, do you want the apartment? And I was like, okay. She was like, okay, so go get the key from, it was a mutual friend. She was like, go get the key from her, and you can look at the apartment. So I go see the apartment, and I open the door, and my mouth drops. Now, my family is excited. They know that I've been going through. To get extra money, I've been driving Uber until I got burnt out. And then I'm doing insurance. And insurance is it's a doozy. It can be a doozy. So anyway, walk into the apartment, my mouth completely drops. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it is totally decorated. It's a beautiful apartment. It's decorated. It's fully furnished. And I'm like, what is going on here? And so I immediately am calling my family because they're excited. So my sisters and my niece, they're like, FaceTime us when you get there. FaceTime us. Listen, I FaceTime this apartment, and they were like, look at God. I'm telling you, God made this thing appear out of nowhere. Okay? So, here we are, the Saturday before Thanksgiving. I have a job that I didn't apply for. And then I got an apartment that is fully furnished, and it's just sitting up waiting for me, empty. I called my friend. I was like, okay, I want the apartment. She's like, okay. So the next thing is that I had been talking to somebody about buying insurance from me since July. It just so happens that within that next week before Thanksgiving, the person decides to get the insurance policies that we've been talking about. So all these things just happen. Boom, 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 boom. They just happen. So within that week, I got the money that I needed to move. So I told the job that I would start the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And so that weekend, right after Thanksgiving, it was like I started packing on that Friday. It was such a surprise, and everything moved so quickly. I was shocked. I didn't have time to get my bearings out, but I just started packing. I didn't have everything in my brother's house. I had some stuff in storage. But all I needed out of storage really was some boxes, like for my kitchen and my books and stuff, and my washer and dryer. So I hired movers. I have money to hire movers, all of that. And God bless where I was able to move in here. That's not all. The thing is that my friend was like, her and her husband discussed it, and they were like, listen, we've already paid for December. We've already paid for December. And so don't even worry about December. You can start paying rent in January. So that's how I got this apartment. That is how I got the Lord worked it out. Do you know that my friend told me that she kept waking up between 3 and 5 in the morning, and she could not get me off of her spirit. She could not get, and so she had to call me. Y'all, the Lord caused everything to work out. Do you know that I didn't even have time to think about, I'm in a new place. I had to unpack and get everything organized when I moved in on Saturday night. I moved all the stuff in on Saturday night. Boxes packed up, stacked up. And so on Sunday, Monday, I am getting everything ready because I got to start my job on that Tuesday. I didn't even have time to think about it. And so sometimes I would get up in the middle of the night when I first moved in here. I would get up in the middle of the night and I would be just crying and weeping and thanking God, like, God, you blessed me. You blessed me. I cannot believe this. It appeared out of nowhere. The scripture that I have for this testimony is in Isaiah. I had to go and get my Bible. And the scripture that I'm going to go to is Isaiah 43. Can we go to Isaiah 43? I have my Bible here. And it's Isaiah 43 and 18 says, do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? This is the part that got me. I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Listen, the Lord made a road appear in my wilderness. He made a river appear in my desert, in my dry places. God gave me water. I am so thankful. You hear me? I don't take it for granted. I am so thankful. The Lord did it. The Lord did it. The Lord turned it around so quickly that it made my head spin. I couldn't even, it took me a while to even, oh my God, I've been in this place about 90 days, but it took me like, oh my God, oh my God. I couldn't even believe where I was. It happened so quick. So I want you to believe God. Believe God. God is so good. And he does take us into account. He does. Even when we think he's not listening, he hears us. Even when we can't see that he's working, he's working. I want you to be encouraged. God bless.